Hey, what's going on, YouTube? Hiker Dave here. How are you? I hope everyone's doing well. It is chilly here in Massachusetts. I really like this weather. It's a crisp fall day. We got leaves flying all over the joint. It's going to be, I'm here at a local place. I was here yesterday. It's that nature preserve area where I smelt that crazy, nasty smell, which could have been anything. Maybe there's an animal rotting out there somewhere where I came across it. Anyways, this weather for hiking is optimal. Falls right into that range of perfect hiking weather. Crisp, 40-something degrees. It's a little more windy than I would like, but I really don't mind because I'm not sweating and I love this weather. Sweatshirt weather. I'll be grabbing my sweatshirt and it'll be nice. My water's not going to get all hot and gross. It's a good thing about the colder weather is, my water stays nice and cool. Anyways, I got a story for you guys. It's an insane story. Really interesting. This is one of the most fascinating stories to date that I have come across that I feel there may be some validity to this story. And I'm gonna go over it kind of like an overview, but you guys got to check it out, okay? And let me go through a little bit of what's going on here. It is an amazing story. This is a series I found on YouTube called 50 Years with Bigfoot, Tennessee Chronicles of Bigfoot. So anybody who's on YouTube that probably watches my videos or is subscribed gets other Bigfoot related videos, and you're probably fully aware of this story. If you haven't watched any of these videos, it's really just interviews and you don't see anybody. It's kind of a narrated type thing. But let me go through some of this madness, okay? This guy, his name is Robert Carter Sr., and he's working his farm in Tennessee. And this was, I don't know how many years ago, 25, 30, maybe 40 years ago. It says 50 years with Bigfoot. Maybe that's a giveaway, right? So this guy comes across a small juvenile Bigfoot. A tree fell on it. And he takes the Bigfoot back to his house and he helps it recover. And he's feeding it and tending to it to, so it can gain its strength back so it can survive on its own. And after a few days or a week or whatever, he's got this Bigfoot. I think it was in his basement. Don't quote me. I started to write a lot of this down, and I finally gave up. I'm like, there was so much information here. And so he come home one day, and the inside of his house is all ripped apart. The kitchen's torn apart. His food is eaten. There's stuff all over, broken glass all over the floor. And he moves the Bigfoot out into his barn. After a few days, out in the barn, bringing it food and scraps and stuff like that every night out into the barn, he comes home and the barn is ripped apart, literally ripped apart like from the outside. The juvenile's parents came and busted him out of there, right? They busted him out of the clink and they took off. His parents come to get him. So after that, the little one followed him. The little one was about 1 or 2 years old, was estimated. Would follow him around everywhere he went. And eventually, the two daughters of this gentleman are telling the story now, are remembering this, saying that the parents disappeared, that they never saw them around again. And the juvenile, they called him Fox. Him and their pa, they called him, became close. And one of the daughters, the young daughter he had, two of them, one of them talked about she would sneak around and listen to him interacting with the juvenile. And the Carter Sr., Robert Carter Sr., was teaching the Bigfoot English. And the guy was learning the Bigfoot language, and the girl says it was a fast chatter with clicks, pops, and stuff like that. And I think it was the granddaughter, but like I said, I wrote so much stuff down. So they were teaching each other language, English and then Bigfoot language, and the granddaughter used to write words down. She was learning their language, and as well as learning their language as well. Two Bigfoot, male and female. It says I don't know what I wrote down. My bad. Okay, they fed them nightly over a 20-year period. So there was two sisters. One of them was a little more of a tomboy than the other one, and this is the one that got a lot closer to these, to them. They ended up, the juvenile grew over the years and took a mate, and they had a family. And of course, twins, which is, I guess, very common, which I had learned in the Miller document. Whether that is true remains to be seen, but that's kind of strange how these two girls talk about the two babies were born with twins. I guess that happens a lot in Bigfoot world, I guess. So in 2002, January, two Tennessee Bigfoot researchers, Joseph Bell and Stan Sosnowski III, traveled to the farm and began an investigation, a long investigation, with Janice, her husband, Paul, and Lila. On-site investigation of the cabin and ongoing Bigfoot activity was occurring. There was a cabin, a house, there was a couple of trailers, I believe, on this property, and at the end of all this. And she allows Stan and Joseph to roam about the property freely. They left out apples that were taken. Prints were left. And after all this years, this is 2002, both sisters say that they believe that it's Fox, that he's still alive, still in this area. So this is Stan's report after his investigation of the Carter farm in the cabin area on January 13th, 2002. Quotes, the farm is big, but only 10 acres, and the creeks are wooded, large wooded lots near the farm. I think there is enough cover to mask movement, just not enough to live in. The good news is I think the Bigfoot are there, but just in passing. The man that runs the cows on their property lost 10 cattle last year, and the neighbors also lose livestock. The girls later on, I've only got to part 5 of this. So far, there's 9 parts. They're all over half an hour. You kind of invest time with this story. What am I looking at? 7 minutes. So, from what these girls were saying too, that they would lose a certain amount of cattle or goat here and there, but the surrounding farms lost much more. So the Bigfoot that were kind of hanging around this family knew that they were taking, that they didn't want to take too much. And when they needed to feed more than what the Carters had on their property, they would go to other farms and take more from them. So if they lost, I think the girl was quoted, they lost, I forget, 6 or 7 a year, and then but the other surrounding farms lost much more. So it was like the Bigfoot didn't want to deplete all their. I think that they liked that family. I would too. The guys feeding these Bigfoot for 20 years. I mean, listen, if I heard this story, right, from somebody, and it wasn't a firsthand telling of the story, I'd say, yeah, I don't believe that. I mean, that they were talking, that the old man could understand them and communicate with them and talk with them in their language. That's a lot to ask for somebody to believe something like that. But these two sisters were interviewed thoroughly, from what I'm seeing on these videos. They go into great detail. I mean, incredible detail. Smells, sights, when they saw them. They can kind of gauge what age they were, how old the girls were when they first saw him, where the grandfather would feed them. One of the girls out of the two was, like I said, more of a tomboy, and she tagged along a lot more with the grandfather. And she would go with him nightly. He would make his rounds, feed the cows, feed the pigs, chickens, and part of his nightly routine was to go down by a gully or a ditch area where there was a tree line and leave a five gallon metal bucket out with like scraps and some slop, kind of like what they would feed the pigs. She also mentioned that they don't like cabbage. They don't like, there was a couple of foods that they wouldn't even touch, which I thought was funny, you know what I mean? That pigs eat anything, but the girls were also saying that Fox, who was now the leader of this family, the provider, always ate first. He always took his share. And in the beginning, he ate everything. And the little ones and his mate got nothing. And they said over a 2 or 3 year period of this happening like this, he started to leave stuff for the mate. And I forget what they named her. There's so much going on here. I don't have that. I didn't write that information down. Now, later on in years, as years passed, they had trailers on their property that they rented out. I think 1 or 2, I forget exactly. You'll find out. You gotta see this series of videos. There were a couple of families renting a trailer. One moved after a couple months. Then another family moved in with kids. 2 weeks later, they left without saying a word, leaving some items behind, kids, toys, and stuff like that. Another family, a third family, moved into the trailer, paid money in advance, a considerable amount. They paid way in advance to stay for a while. They, too, abandoned the cabin after a few weeks. This family left much of their stuff behind. New bikes for the kids, brand new furniture, dishwashers, 2 vehicles. They just up and left. They jumped in one of their vehicles and did not ever return. After contacting the family to find them, they found them in North Carolina, and the man said, "There's no way I'm going back there." They made plans to have their possessions delivered to them via U-Haul. In October 15th, 2002, they met up with the guy so he could receive all his belongings, his cars and stuff, and they asked him, "Why'd you leave?" And his quote was saying the bears were trying to get into the cabin, and the bears were turning the doorknobs. So, that's as far as I wrote. Guys, I was for hours writing stuff down in this notebook so I could relay it to you guys. And I'm like, the heck with that, because it would take me, I'd have to fill this 80-page, field research book that I have. I have a bunch of them, but I would fill it with the information that's on these videos. So I think part 3 and 4 really get in detail interviewing these women now that they're older, that they're grown. So, and I believe this is 2002, 2003 when these interviews took place. And there's a mediator there asking these girls questions, kind of to back up their statements from, say, months prior when they came to research, when they came to investigate the property. And they're kind of throwing questions out. So you said you were this age when this happened. How do you know what age you were? And these girls, these women now, are just rattling off, saying the same thing that they had said in this story whenever they first came out with the story. Nothing has changed. Everything that they say, they can kind of corroborate with each other. The husband of one of the women says, yeah, definitely crazy stuff still goes on here. Really crazy stuff. There was also an incident that happened that I just found out about this morning when I was watching part 5, that a young girl that lived on one of the farms in the area was taken into the woods, grabbed off the side of the road, and was assaulted. She reported it to the police. There were 2 guys that lived right near where this incident happened on a kind of wooded area of the road, heard her screaming and ran into the woods and found her kind of bloodied and beat up. She was traumatized, shaken, couldn't talk. They finally had the authorities brought in. They arrested the boyfriend of the girl and his friend, thinking that they grabbed her and beat her up. They eventually dropped the charges, dropped everything. A kit was done on this girl to have a DNA sample taken of what was left behind when she was assaulted. And it came back, an unknown animal was what came back, that assaulted this girl. And the girl, to this day, even though this happened, I think 20 plus 30 years ago, the girl is still in a mental facility and has never been right since in the head. It messed her up completely. Check out this series, you guys. It's on Sasquatch Central. Love that channel. I'm subscribed to it. And it's called 50 Years with Bigfoot, Tennessee. Just because you guys got to check it out. I can't do a video. I don't have enough battery in my phone to do a video. So far, it's 9 parts. No, that's not 9. So far, it's 9 parts. And 50 Years with Bigfoot, Tennessee Chronicles of Bigfoot. The Janice Carter Coy is one of the ones of the sisters that talk about it. There was a book written about it by Mary Green. Consent was given by the mother, I believe, of these girls to finally put this story out. This family had a family of Bigfoot living with them on their property for years and years and years. The old man was feeding them for over 20 years, and he had a stroke. The girl Janice, the daughter or the granddaughter, took over feeding Bigfoot for about 6 months. The old man got better. He took over. And then until he was 87 years old, he physically couldn't do it anymore. He died. And crazy things happened after he died. Fox, the original one, was found in a root cellar, whimpering. I mean, he missed this guy so bad, it seems. I believe the story. Crazy as hell. I want to believe it because I believe that could happen. Thank you so much, guys, for coming by. Check that out. Sasquatch Central, and subscribe. Whoever runs that channel, awesome channel. Again, I'll see you guys soon. I'm going for a hike. It's beautiful and chilly, and I'll definitely see you guys on the next one.